Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Now, we have reached Imbolc. Imbolc is the beginning of spring, which is a time of year I love because it means winter is beginning to be put behind us. The first snowdrops are pushing through the ground, and the first sign of life is coming back to the land. So I'm here with Jeremy once again, and Jeremy, welcome. And let's hear what you have to say about Imbolc for us.
I think you summed up the most exciting part of it at the very beginning is that when we're working with this sort of cycle of nature, often, or with maybe when we're not, winter feels like it goes on forever and ever and ever. And then suddenly, when we have this understanding of the cycles and when and what we're working with, and that actually spring begins for the 1st of February, and you can feel a shift in what is going on out there. Particularly, I always feel with the air. There's something about the air or the wind
Mm.
that suddenly moves. Somehow, if winter isn't your most favorite season throughout the year, getting through that when you know February is it. January is everything is drawing to a close. We're beginning to start that shift. That helps us deal not only with the work that we're dealing with in terms of winter, because obviously we've gone inner,
Yeah.
and January can feel a most difficult month because all that inner work is beginning to be transmuted into something that we can then begin to use in February and going on into that period of growth. And so holding on through January, doing that work we need to do when we're doing all the inner work, knowing that the 1st of February brings a breeze, an air coming in, because we have moved from the earth element where we've been doing all of our resources, replenishing everything that we have, and we move into it being about the air, it being about what our thinking is, all of that sort of thing. And it shifts completely. And it is a lovely moment to be able to realize that February, when we are seeing green shoots out in nature, we are visibly seeing that happening in February, that we're already in spring and we're part of that spring
Yeah.
pride, if you like.
Some people would argue with that because the meteorological office, for example, I mean they wouldn't call this the start of spring, but it very much is if you look at the calendar of the wheel,
Yes.
you know the way it turns. So and although you know the signs of life are few, it's the snowdrops, it's the daffodil here in the northern hemisphere, it's the daffodils just beginning to push through.
Yeah.
It's a few buds on trees. It's very, very slow, but it's definitely there, isn't it? And you know, I walk dogs every single day, you know, out across farmland and things like this, and you feel the shift in the energy of the land. You can feel it through your feet. There's a you know a waking up. It might be slow, it might be sluggish, but there's a waking up, and it's to be celebrated.
And it is that part, there is an awakening going on within nature and also within ourselves as well. And it's important that however slow, as we know, with all of the seasonal changes, they don't arrive like that.
Yeah.
They emerge. And yes, when we get to the midpoint of spring, it becomes very evident we're in spring, which is why often then some people or some offices say, oh, now it's officially spring. Well, yes, but spring has now got to a zenith rather than the
Yes.
fact that it's actually starting. The
Yes.
soil would disagree. It's starting now. And you're right, walking around from February, you can feel things beginning to stir, things beginning to germinate.
Mm.
And spring, the light levels tell us this as well.
Yes. Yes. Again, it says welcome return of the light. I mean, the days are the days are still end too soon, but it is drawing out now, and that has become very evident. Where it's very, very slow initially, it's becoming more evident now.
And that is what nature is responding to. It
Yeah.
is responding to the length of light, it's responding to the strength of light. And that is what we are responding to as well, because we are those same bodies. So all of that is working in exactly the same way.
Yeah.
And
The Christian church has overlaid this particular festival with Candlemas, hasn't it?
yes, that's right. Yeah.
And that, might give people a little bit of an idea of one of the things that they can possibly do to celebrate it is to sort of light a candle and just appreciate the returning light and the returning life to the land.
Yeah, and in lighting that, it's less about us giving ourselves light, which often during the winter we need to do.
Mm,
It is about celebrating and that intention of bringing light to it by lighting it rather than using it for illumination. We're using it
yes.
to signify and to draw back that inspiration, that awakening with the light.
Yeah. Any other suggestions?
Well, one of the things that I really like to hold on to is this time of year in Imbolc, it defines a point where we know in ourselves that we have a right to flourish.
Yes.
And for many people, that's quite a difficult concept to necessarily hold on to and accept throughout all aspects of their life. And this is the point where we can really, in lighting that candle or doing whatever ritual feels right for us, be it making a meal, it's looking at it as giving us something that helps us understand we have a right to flourish in all parts of our life.
Yeah.
And calling that in at this point in time, this February, this Imbolc moment, and to feel where maybe you do want your more flourishing in parts of your life, where you actually just feel that you need to get a sense of flourishing. Or the other side is, well, maybe where you're putting up barriers or blockages to
Mm,
encouraging that coming into your life. And that at the inbox time is a really good way of just sitting and understanding if I do have a right to flourish in all parts of my life, where is it present, where is it absent, and where maybe I'm blocking things coming through. It's a
yeah.
really lovely exercise to try and do.
Yeah. Because it's not really a time for bursting into action yet. Yes, life, there may be a quickening in the land, but it's slight and it's slow. So there's still time to think, to ponder a little, to really feel in, are those plans that you've been thinking about over the winter period, um, are they really what you want to bring into fruition?
Yeah.
Or is something else as life begins to return, as the energy begins to rise, is there something else that you haven't thought of that's starting to rise with it? So
Yeah.
still contemplation, but yeah, I always feel there's a bit of excitement attached to it
There
now.
could be excitement and anticipation when we get
Mm,
into in bulk. If we are feeling a sort of foreboding or a fear, then that's another indication for us just to look at what is driving that in us or where we need to. And that's, you're right, there is still a contemplation going on. It is not so reflective. We are definitely looking forward. We're not looking back now, but we are still looking at where we want to go and what we want to do. And Imbolc is also called the Festival of Dedication for a really good reason, because
yeah,
as we go through spring, those levels of our commitment to ourselves about what we want to bring in just grows stronger. But this first level is quite high in terms of what am I wanting to dedicate this year of my personal growth to? Will it be my physical health? Will it be some education? Will it be a creative side? What are those things? Because we know that the universe can respond to things we ask for when we have clarity of intention.
yeah.
And this is the time to start getting that clarity of intention together.
And on that particular score, if you do have that clarity, you could possibly use this time to maybe sit and write out
Mhm.
what you're going to dedicate the coming year to, what kind of growth that you're going to put your effort into.
Absolutely.
And just it is, as you say, it's a festival of dedication, and you can find some way to make that promise, make that vow, or record that intent to give it form. to
Yes.
bring it into form, to help to begin to manifest it. So, but I would say be very clear. Have very clear intent, because anything wishy-washy only brings wishy-washy results.
But
So
what we need to know, and what is wonderful about February, particularly, is if we're working with it in bulk, is the universe is always kind. It will test us.
yes.
So you don't have to worry. If, for example, you sort of put, I don't know, I want to focus on my health, and then you suddenly become incapable of drinking caffeinated coffee,
Mm.
are you prepared to give up caffeine for
Yeah,
your dedication?
absolutely.
It's like, oh.
Or it might plonk a great big chocolate cake down in front of you.
It's things like that. So I often
Yeah,
think that people get very worried, like, well, I'm making a commitment and it's absolutely that's going to have to be it. So it's got to be right. So often it
yeah,
never like
yeah,
have time, you have space, and the universe supports those by going, okay, you said it's going to be this. Just have a taster. Is that where your intention really sits?
yeah. Well, again, it comes back to, do you have um are you good for your word, is maybe a good way of saying it, because so many people say things but really, really, when tested, don't mean them at all. It's kind of like it sounds good, it makes me feel good to say it, but actually I don't have the backbone behind it. And this is what nature is doing, as you say, when she's testing you, is, are you good for your word? And actually, that extends out. I mean, it teaches us something about ourselves, or should, if we're really serious about the work we want to do in the world, if we're really serious about our personal growth, we have to see where we have these weak spots.
Yeah.
We have to grow that backbone if it's not there. And if we give our word, we keep it, because you're no good to anybody if you can't be trusted, and trusted 100% to do what you commit to. Yeah,
And this is the start of that process. So this is not the final commitment stage, because you can explore. The universe
yeah,
will help you explore
yeah,
it, but you have to start. It can't respond to anything if you sit and go, "Oh, I don't really know."
yeah, yeah. Oh, I'll just see what unfolds.
See
Oh,
what,
see where the current takes me. Yeah, it's kind of like, well, you're not a sovereign being. You're
and you
not a
look
sovereign
around you
being.
at nature.
Mm,
All of nature isn't just seeing actually where things unfold. It is making choices to make sure that it has everything it needs to flourish in
yeah.
whatever form. And that might mean changing its shape. It might mean lots of different things we see going on in nature, where we see quirks in plants and
Mm.
trees and stuff. But they're doing it because they're making sure that they get what they need to flourish.
Yeah,
And
and responding to, changing environment, changing times. I mean, there's a big shift going on at so many levels. And it is, update your thinking, update your program, as I like to say, because I mean, it's absolutely necessary that yes, this is where I want to go going forwards, but what do I need to shift and change
yeah,
within my life, within my relationships, within the way I structure my day, et cetera, et cetera, in order to meet that commitment. Yeah, same old just isn't working any longer.
no. And when it hasn't worked, why do we start to try and do it again and hope for a different response? It
Yeah,
just
yeah,
doesn't work like that.
yeah,
What we should also talk about, though, is what I love about the fact that when we work with these cycles of nature, we begin to recognize where we're already doing it.
yeah.
And this point is that idea of spring cleaning.
Yes.
But people start talking about it. I've already had people saying to me when I've mentioned about spring, I was, oh, I must start thinking about what I've got to do this, or I've got to clean this, or I need to sort this out. But that is also within ourselves as well as external to
Yes,
ourselves.
yes.
And so the spring, the February has that idea of spring cleaning, of again of releasing again things that no longer serve us
Mm,
or are not for our highest potential.
yes.
So Imbolc can be a time to think about that as well. Really, time to think about what is it that might be holding me back.
Mm,
We've
mm,
already talked about it a little bit there, where we sort of talked about, what might be blocking you in flourishing.
Mm.
It's what negative patterns, what things that we keep repeating to ourselves that are really not true about who we are and how we work and what we bring, and look to release those. And so one of the ways we can work at Imbolc is through meditation. And I think we've talked about using meditation to celebrate these festivals before. But one of the really beautiful ways of using a meditation is to create and ask to create your own personal sun. So when you're sitting in a meditational space, to actually ask to see this personal glowing orb of light and sun, and then have it sitting in front of you, and then allow it, if it feels right, to move into that heart center.
Yeah.
And you have that light, that awakening light within your heart center, to really ask to see if there are any negative patterns you're still holding on to, anything self-belief that isn't true and isn't accurate to yourself, and just feel that light holding your whole being.
Yeah.
And you gently, everything in spring is about gentleness and allowing that to come through and treating yourself gently with it. But it is, again, a really important thing to look at around this spring point in myself. What should I be releasing? Because while we're thinking about dedications, we might be influenced and making choices based around these negative patterns that aren't actually true for us. So
Yes.
when we say, well, that didn't work out, well, was it really true for you and how what you really wanted, or was it a response to an external situation you felt you should be having this? I need this because the life is telling me outside that I should have this.
Yeah.
It's not to do with that core heart center, that lit center.
Yeah. And moving into that, I mean, talked about this as a time of changes, moving into that core essence of who we are, moving into the heart, and viewing from that place is very much what this time is all about. It's about coming back to self and true self. So this is a wonderful time to really start to think about what that means, because so many of us wear false facades that, they're masks that society demands of us.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah,
And we've
it's
overlaid what we
mm,
see around us as what we must have to flourish, or the only way to flourish is I have to have this, or this, or I need to
yeah,
be. And those are untrue,
yeah, yeah,
always untrue. And so find out where those still stick to you, because we all still have them.
yeah,
Occasionally,
we do.
you're like, oh God, I'm still thinking in that way. Oh, right, now I need to do that. I need to remove that. I need to really. So yeah, no, it's important to do that.
Mm. Well, lots to think about. Anything else?
Well, this is also
This time.
part of the myths and stories. This is a time Persephone coming back from the underworld
Yes.
as well. And there are plenty of instances where you've got Bridget as well. Uh,
Mm.
and so if you are interested, or you focus around a lot of work to do with that aspect, then have a look about how you might well be able to engage. Particularly Bridget has a lot of different ways, from creating the Bridget's cross to marking the hearth and decorating the hearth for Imbolc, to putting something outside your door to welcome in the new awakening, all of that sort of thing. And so have a look around and see what they, in terms of their spirit, is calling you to work with.
Mm.
Particularly, I mean, Persephone obviously as a goddess is coming out of the underworld to bring back the spring as she joins her mother Demeter. Whereas with Bridget, there was very much a lot of symbolism about this time of year and marking her ascendancy into spring, that gives you lots of crafting things that you can work with as well.
Yeah, and it can be a lovely thing to do, is to, as you say, craft something, work with your hands to create something that is very personal to you and very representative of this rebirth of um yes, life back into the land, back into you. I mean, our bodies get very sluggish over the winter period. And at this point, moving forwards, we'll find that the lymph will begin to thin more and more and more. And the more we move and the more we shift and move this, the more our bodies, will begin to do a cleanse and shift out the winter debris, as it were. We can throw open the windows and let some fresh air in, let the winter fog out and things like that. So find something that really speaks to you, that feels very representative to you of this particular time and what it represents. And yes, just bear in mind, although it's not, foot flat on the accelerator, it's time to begin to stir again.
Yeah. We still need a little bit of patience. Throwing ourselves immediately into action now is not.
The older you are, the more it's going to hurt as well.
We need to, as with spring, it's a slow beginning, and we have that opportunity to really align ourselves with where we want to go, what we want to do, what we need to release to be able to enable that to happen. And this is that beautiful period of germination, if you like. So flowers aren't here already,
Yeah.
they're coming, and that's our response as well. And
Yeah.
when you're doing anything to celebrate your Imbolc, be it lighting a candle, be it making something, you're weaving in all of where you are at the moment and what you want to come. So you can actually use that as a tool to really investigate, well, what is it I really, really want to do? The decor of nature.
Yeah.
Because from where we've begun at the beginning of winter, we're already a quarter of the way through that year.
Yes.
And that is a really lovely space to be in as well. We've had all of that first quarter thinking about going in. And now we have this next quarter of preparation, of really thinking about what is it we want,
Yeah.
and slowly molding and being able to give ourselves that commitment so that we can bring it in.
Yeah. It's moving. It's an outward movement from this point, isn't it? Yeah.
It's lovely. It's really, really lovely to be able to do that. And as you say, the walking, I mean, I do, a celebratory walk each month again, and I would be doing one to celebrate Imbolc. It becomes something different when we get into the spring about what we can bring into it and what intentions we can set to hear and to see what's going on in nature at the same time.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Jeremy. You're going to be doing a walk, as you said. I'll make sure that there are details below. So anyone who wishes to join you, Jeremy does these walks through the London landscape every 6 weeks. So if you wish to join him, just contact him and he'll tell you where and when. And they're well worth doing. I highly recommend them. But yes, the next time we get together, we're going to be very close to the vernal equinox, or the spring equinox, and the midpoint of spring.
And that brings with it its own gifts as well as you reach that heightened point of spring.
Yeah.
And we will be talking about how you drop into promises.
Yes.
About what you promise yourself. And from then on, it gets a little bit more serious.
Yeah.
And we're actually committing to ourselves. What do I promise to myself to enable the dedications I've made to come to fruition and to allow the universe to meet me?
Yeah. I mean, you've still got a chance to sort of play a bit,
Yeah.
Shift the pieces around a little bit and see what it is, what shape you want going forwards, yes, before you make the final commitment. So yeah, enjoy the weeks ahead. Yeah, and enjoy just, the signs of the buds are beginning to come to life and the land begin to stir.
Really feel that awakening within yourself as well. Allow that part of nature to really fill your being, feel awakened now. It's wonderful.
Wonderful. Well, I'll see you again very shortly in 6 weeks' time, Jeremy. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.